Welcome to this Fundamentals Lesson Plan series on building documentation for schedules. In this video, we'll take a look at placing room tags in an existing project. This is video 11 of 13. My name is John Harris, and I'll be your host for today's lesson. Let's review the learning objectives for video 11. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to load a room tag family into a project, place room elements and room tags either together or as separate tasks, modify room boundaries with room separators for open office floor plans, and then modify the room tag field values. With that, let's get started. Let me begin with an instructor demo, so just please watch and listen before we proceed forward with the hands-on exercise. Room tags are annotation elements that can be added and displayed in plan views and section views. Room tags can display values for related parameters such as room number, room name, computed area, and volume. So just letting you know that we're in a plan view. What I just circled with my cursor is the room tag. It has a label and a room number associated with it. We zoom in to the floor plan. Let's study the Manager 1 room in more detail. Again, hovering over the room tag, that is what it is. Note that it's also displaying the square footage of that space. Next, I'm hovering and highlighting the room object. So the two are separate objects, but they do work together to help you inform what the design intent is. Now, if I left click and put the room object into a selection set, we can see the instance properties in the properties palette. So in the dimensions section, you can confirm that the area report is the same that's displayed on screen, adjacent to the room tag. We scroll down a little further, note that the room number is actually held by the room object, not the room tag, and also the room name. So the room object is carrying the metadata. The room tag is just simply reporting that information on screen. With that, let's take a look at some of the finer points. How do room objects work? How do they know to stay within the confines of the walls? So if I select the wall on screen and look at its instance properties, note that there is a property called room bounding that's marked. If it's marked, then it actually acts as a true boundary for the room object. So almost kind of like when you do hatching, it's acknowledging that wall as a boundary. However, openings such as doors and windows typically do not influence rooms. Room tags are annotation objects, so they do respond to view scale changes. So if I go from 3/16 inch and go to 3/8, notice that the tag is half the size it was previously. Okay, so they do respond to view scale changes. I'll undo that to restore it back to its original scale. Moving on, let's take another look at rooms. And maybe the trick is, how do you select a room? Because I'm doing it based on experience. If I create a gross selection set and then use the filter command, you'll see that rooms is its own unique category. I can filter for that and then click OK to accept. And now only the room object is in a selection set. So it's probably one way to work more effectively with them. Now, if I hit the delete key, I will get a warning message saying that the room object and the room tag have been removed from the project, but the actual room name still is captured in the project for future use. So let's come back to that notion here. On the Architecture tab in the Room and Area panel, we will find those sets of tools. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Room Element Placement tool. So the way this works is you place your cursor inside the boundary and you would left click to actually create that room object. Note that the tag on placement is live so that we're placing the room tag at the same time. It's a good idea to scan the options bar just to confirm. Note here that I'm actually picking up the manager room name that we just deleted a moment ago, and now I'm placing it back in the same location. All right, so you might have noticed the difference between the room tags. So to correct this, we can select that one room tag and change its type displayed to reflect areas as well. So that was a substitution in place modification. Now subsequently, if I delete the room tag, the room object is still present along with the room name associated with it. We're just removing the tag. To replace the tag, I'll choose tag and then place my cursor in the space to be labeled. And again, I'll pick up the area report version of that tag. Let's go through another scenario. What if I create another space inside the one that was already defined? So I'm creating a closet here. How does the room object react to that? Well, because the walls are room bounding, it will foreshorten the original space accordingly, as highlighted on screen. So to place another room tag and room object, I'll go ahead and start the Room Element Placement tool. Make sure that tag on placement is shaded. I'm creating a new space. I'll go ahead and left click internal to that space. It creates that new room element to flood that specific room boundary, and then just gives it a generic name of room. Note that the number is set to 9. It takes on the next number from the last number used in the project. Now, if I try to relocate the room tag, I get a message saying you can do it, but it's going to be not able to report that specific space. So to correct that, I'll turn on the leader. And the leader basically leaves a foot inside that space as a reference, and then I can drag that room tag safely out to make it more legible. To change the room tag name, just simply double left click to make that an editable field, type in its new value, and then going to the properties palette, just confirming that that information is actually stored in the room object. So if I select the room object on screen, there's the room name value being stored there. With that, this concludes the instructor demonstration. Now please join me in the hands-on exercise to follow. Let's begin the exercise by opening up an existing project file. So go ahead and click open. Navigate to your tutorial folder. And let's open up the Building Documents Exercise 11 project file, please. So in this exercise, we will load a room tag family. We'll place a room element along with a room tag. We'll go back through and modify the room tag labels, and that will complete this exercise. Let's go to Project Browser. Let's expand out the plan views, and let's open up the level 1 plan view, please. So this is the floor plan that we'll be working with. I'm just zooming out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and create a gross selection set. I just want to let you know that there are no existing room elements currently in the floor plan, so I'm just doing that by demonstrating it with the filter tool. There is no room categories in the current project. We're going to create those here in just a moment. All right, I'm going to hit the escape key to clear the selection set. So the first task is to load a room tag into the project. So I go to the Insert tab, select the Load Family command, open up the Annotations folder by double left clicking, and then scrolling down until I find the room tag family. Once you go ahead and locate it, go ahead and select it, and then click Open. Choose the first overwrite option. Okay, so we have the room tag loaded for use. We'll begin the workflow starting on the Architecture tab, returning back to the Room and Areas panel. We'll go ahead and start the Room Element Placement tool. And before we place a room element, just make sure that tag on placement is shaded, which means it's turned on, which means we place a room tag at the same time. And in the type selector, go ahead and change the type to room tag with area. All right, so you have a preview of the room element attached to your cursor. Go ahead and place your cursor into this space here, and left click to place an instance of a room object and a room tag. The blue highlighted area just confirms the area that's going to be reported on the tag. Go ahead and continue clockwise in the floor plan to go ahead and place room elements and tags in the remaining part of the floor plan. And then we'll come back through and give the rooms a label. Feel free to use the alignment snaps to line up the tags, either horizontally or vertically. In this case, I can actually acquire an intersection alignment snap. And this completes the first series of rooms. Go ahead and hit the escape key twice to end the placement command. Next, I'd like to subdivide the hallway right here at this location that I'm showing with my cursor on screen. And if you recall, walls have a room bounding property, but we don't want a wall. We just want to indicate like a floor stripe. And so to do that, we use the room separator line work tool in the Room and Areas panel. And I'll just simply draw a line between this corner to the opposite wall. And that's my room separation line. I'll hit the escape key twice to end the command. So if I left click to select the room element for the hallway, I just want to confirm what the room separation line did. Is it basically segmented that space into two separate spaces. So to complete this, we will add another room element and room tag to the new space that's been created through that room separation line. And then go ahead and hit the escape key twice to end the placement command. Next, we'll zoom into the floor plan and give the rooms a real name. So when you left click on a label to highlight it, it shows in blue, which means those fields are editable. So if you left click again, we can actually give it the name manager for the first room space. Left click away to be able to select another room, and double left click to edit its value field. Let's go ahead and give it the name of sales. Room 3 will become accounting. Panning over to the right. Room 4 will become repairs. Room 5 is storage. Panning up on screen. Room 6 will be conference. Room 7 will become hallway. And just panning out, or zooming out and then panning over. Last is room 8. That will become the showroom. And then just hit the escape key twice when you're done. This concludes this exercise. Let's do a zoom to fit first. Let's go ahead and save the file. Let's do a file save as. Let's give it the name Building Docs Exercise 11 Finished. Click Save to give it that name. This concludes this exercise. Let's take a look at next steps. Let's review the learning objectives for video 11. In this lesson, you were able to load a room tag family into an existing project. We placed room elements and room tags in those spaces. We modified the room boundaries with room separators for open office plans. And then we modified the room tag values accordingly. With that, let's take a look at Autodesk resources that are available to you. I would like to make you aware of two Autodesk resources. The first resource is the Autodesk Education Community, where you can access free software for both students and educators for titles like Autodesk Revit featured in this series. The website address is www.students.autodesk.com. Registration is required to access the free software using either your personal email address or your school-issued email address. The second resource is the Autodesk Digital STEAM Workshop. It's hands-on, project-based learning across multiple industries such as architecture, engineering, and entertainment. The website address is www.digitalsteam.autodesk.com. Registration is required to download the free learning resources using your Autodesk ID created from the Autodesk Education Community. You will find the Fundamentals of Architecture series under the Subject pull-down menu, Architecture link. Assets include step-by-step instructions, datasets, and videos. This concludes this lesson overview summary. Thank you for watching.